Welcome to the American Academy of Grief Counseling's Videogram on the loss of a parent. And we've discussed in other videos the loss of a child. This is probably the second most painful loss that traditionally people can experience, and that is the loss of a parent. Now, through our life, for most of us, the natural losses prepare us for the bigger losses, the loss of a pet, the loss of a distant family member that you may have gone to see at a funeral, and maybe it was a second cousin or a great uncle. And then a little bit more painful, the loss of a grandparent. And it begins to touch a little bit closer, but it's still not right in our face per se when it comes to losing a parent. Now, this is those who follow the natural give and flow, the natural ebb and tide of life. Most of us are blessed to experience these losses in that type of order. Others may experience losses out of order and experience more painful losses sooner. And that's obviously more difficult. Life is not fair. It doesn't always give other individuals the same time with their loved ones on the same time scale. And for some, a loss of a grandparent might be the greatest because maybe their grandparent raised them. But this is just in general. I'm laying this out with pets, distant family, and grandparents for the majority of individuals who are lucky enough, who are blessed enough to experience these in a natural order without something taken from someone sooner. But parental loss, when it does come, has impact. Parental loss has impact because it forces one to question your very existence. These are two individuals that raised you. You're alive because of them from your first moments of being born, through your infancy, through being a young child, a teenager, and so forth. You have always been in a relation with that other individual before you, and your life has been molded by that. Who you are is being a son or daughter of these particular individuals. And when these individuals are gone, it really begins to question, well, what is our relation now? How do we stand on our own, and so forth? What am I now? And these are things that really begin to make you wonder about your place in the world itself. So the impact is going to be there, but it can be lessened or increased. It depends on the relationship. Unfortunately, some individuals have estranged relationships with their family, and maybe the impact isn't as good, at least on an everyday basis. Or the impact can vary depending on the age in which you lose your parent. And that's obviously going to create different reactions that come about if you're a young child or an adult when you lose your parents. But regardless, whether we like it or not, when a parent dies, it is a very, very powerful moment in our lives that can break us for a while, for sure, because of the strong connections that we have with them at some level. Whether it's just biological, it's still going to make you question, or maybe more so if it's more of an emotional connection, which is the natural thing. You should be connected to your parents. Unfortunately, the world is in a good place and some don't have that blessing. Now, we're going to go through some particulars of what a particular age group might experience with a loss. Early parental loss creates a different thing than it would be for someone who is an adult, as I said. The child grows up hearing stories of mom and dad if they were very, very young. If one parent died or two, it all depends. But you're going to grow up hearing tons of stories of this particular individual. And this is how the family keeps these individuals alive in your life, through photographs, videos, and so forth, by handing down namesakes and precious things that that individual might have owned. Maybe it was jewelry of a mother or a fishing rod of your father. These are things that the child hears on an early age, and then they ask questions as they get older. And so most individuals that lose their parents at a young age don't experience an extreme trauma or extreme pain. They have a few faded memories. It really starts to kick in when they realize that a lot of the opportunities that your friend might have, going to see your dad on Father's Day or having your father and mother at your graduation, you're going to go back and you're going to have a type of more of an intellectual grief where you think about it and it kind of is like, man, I wish my mom and dad were here like everybody else's. But during these events and so forth, it's not as much as an emotional attachment because you never got to know them as much. There are restructured family paradigms with that, step parents and so forth who step into a father or a mother's role. And in those ways, some new parental relationships can be created and so forth. Childhood and teen parent loss is a little bit more traumatic because the child is older, 5 or 6, and maybe a teen, maybe they're 13, 14, 15, 16. And this can create more trauma, especially if the memory of the death is vivid and so forth. There's a lot more pain in the loss. With teenagers, there might be guilt. They might have had an argument with mom or dad before mom and dad died, and they feel like they caused it through magical thinking, especially with younger children. There might be resentment. There might be anger. Why'd you have to go, dad? Why'd you have to leave me, mom, here, and so forth. And then the restructured family paradigms that come into it. If both parents died, maybe the teen has to live with an aunt or an uncle or a godparent or their grandparents, and that changes their life quite a bit. Or maybe they have no family and they have to be put into foster care and so forth. Or maybe only one parent passes away and a new parent comes in and you have a blended family. They have children, and then you have to learn to interact with new step siblings and so forth. Again, just like before, missed events will occur, and the teen and or the child will miss not having their parent there for whatever thing that might be occurring. Financial difficulties can come across, especially if the parent didn't have proper life insurance or they're without their job supporting the family. New things come into change. Moral guidance that a particular parent might have given is now gone. And many teens, they go into drug and alcohol abuse if a parent dies and they're not able to get the help that they need. They turn to other venues to express their grief and so forth, which can be improper ways of coping if not guided properly. Young adult parent loss is a little bit different because you had your parent through your formative years, but because you've had your parent so long, there's that shock really of being parentless for the first time. You're like, wow, I do not have a mom or a dad, or maybe both, and you have to come to a conception of what your life is now like, not having mom or dad to call, and that can be a big shock to someone in their early 20s about what to do now that I don't have my parent. And again, there could be various reactions to that loss. Guilt if the relationship wasn't very good. There could be resentment as well about how the parent died. There's always also the idea that I have to match up to what my dad was or what my mother was. There's like a competition maybe since they're no longer there. You feel like you have to fill a role. Teens sometimes also do that. They have to fill a role of the parent that is now gone. And you can also suffer various secondary losses. Again, as a young adult, without the financial assistance of your parents, or maybe the presence they had in helping you with day-to-day things, those things are all gone now. And your parents are really your best friends as a young adult. And usually they're the ones for you when you fall. They're there to pick you up quicker than any friends. And that produces a bunch of other issues. One other thing to consider is you finally have your child and maybe your parent or your father or your mother died 2 years before, and now you're going to become a parent without them, and you really would love to have their guidance in raising and also their help in raising. A lot of grandparents love to watch their grandchildren and spoil them. in particular. So being a parent without them is sad, because you just wish that they could see their grandson or their granddaughter, and that's not going to occur. Now, older adult parent loss is more natural, but to disenfranchise it and to say, well, at least you had your parent your whole life, is something that is not to be said, because it is still very, very painful. If your parent dies at age 85 or 93, it's still very painful. You just lost your parent. And in many cases, maybe you've gone through a long illness, a terminal illness with this particular parent. You've been taking care of them. So from a pastoral standpoint, you are a caretaker, and you feel a little bit of relief that they're finally free of the pain, but also a relief that now the stress is gone of caring for them, and you can focus on yourself. And that could result in a misguided guilt as well. There's also individuals who lose their parents who are estranged, and they might feel guilt for not being there when their parent died, all alone in their old age. Or they might be angry at their parent and they never made amends. Also, when a parent dies, you suddenly, if you're in your 50s or 40s or even 60s, you begin to realize that you are now filling the role that they previously had. You have a new position in the family hierarchy. You become the matriarch or the patriarch, where everyone comes to you now. You're no longer in the middle where you look forward and you look back. It's all that you are now on the top rung of the ladder. And so you have new roles that were once performed by your parents. So that's something to also consider when you're an older adult that loses his or her parent. Ultimately, parental appreciation is so important. Mother's Day and Father's Day are there for a reason, to applaud mothers and fathers who've cared for their children at all age. So we want to appreciate, we want to celebrate our lives with them. Fix your relationships while you still can is one of the big things that many regret that they didn't do. So we want to love and respect our parents. We want to shower them with our time and love, and we don't want to take them for granted. Again, I feel really bad for those who don't have healthy relationships with their parents and can't give them that type of reverence and love. And it's unfortunate that whatever occurred happened. But there's never a better time than now to fix that than to live later with regret. For those of us who are in good relationship, as our parents get older, we should not hesitate not to discuss death itself, funerals, wills, last wishes, because the best time to talk to them is while they're alive. And society is so scared of death. It's such a taboo subject that many individuals avoid these important conversations until it's too late. And then you don't know exactly what your parent wants in terms of their funeral, or what they want in regards to their care if they become terminal and so forth. All of these wishes that are so important. And you might also have problems later with other individuals regarding who gets what and so forth. And again, that's not something we like to talk about, but it's something maybe we should realize that it's important to talk about, especially while they're healthy and alive. And it's taken as a subject of death is natural. We're not going to treat it like a taboo subject. We're going to deal with it so that we're prepared when the day does come. If you'd like to learn more about grief counseling, please review the American Academy of Grief Counseling's grief counseling program. The link below takes you to our page where we list the variety of courses that are offered. There are 4 core courses that lead to certification in our grief counseling program. The certification lasts for 4 years after you achieve it, and it can be renewed after that 4-year period if you so desire. So it's always open to qualified professionals who are looking to earn this type of certification to help the bereaved. You can contact us at 330-652-7776. You can also email us at info@aihcp.org. Again, that's info@aihcp.org. So in the meantime, if you have a parent take the time to continue that relationship, to make it stronger. If you have a parent and you're estranged, really start to consider uh, the priorities in your life and what it will feel like if they're eventually gone and things are not resolved. It's a very sad thing to see such estrangement within families between children and their parents themselves. So with that, I would like to offer my condolences to all those who have lost their parents. And I'd like to offer encouragement for those of us who have our parents to appreciate them while we still have them. I'd like to thank you for listening and have a great day.